Hi everybody, this is Brandon with Fold Up Games. How are you doing? I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Today we're going to have a little fun. We are going to make some random spaces. I love making random spaces because it's a game that plays back. I don't know what it's going to do when I start the game, and to me that's a big delight. I don't want to know what the game's going to do completely. I don't want to know where every secret is. And in this case, what we're going to do is, I'm going to refresh the room here and let you see what happens. Boom, is create random spaces. See that? This could be a cave, this could be a maze, this could be an island. Use your imagination. After it's finished, you could have it add walls. You could have it like a nuclear throne. The whole thing looks like it's sunken in. You could have it add grass and trees. I've got another one that's actually making whole islands and filling in those middle spaces in there. It fills it in with fresh water so you can have a whole island adventure game. But this is just the foundation, so I'll show you how to make random spaces like that. If that's something you're interested in learning how to do and want to see how I did it, go ahead and stay tuned. Otherwise, have a great life. Goodbye. And don't thumbs down the video when you leave just because you didn't like that. For those of you who are nerds and want to know, I'm using a blue Snowball Ice microphone and I am recording with OBS, Open Broadcaster software. Let's go ahead and set that whole thing up, and the first thing I'm going to do is to create that same system, but I'm going to do it in kind of a slow speed in a real time, not instantaneous. And we're going to have this other object. It's called Object Maker. And what we're going to do is called a drunkard's walk. It staggers around, it wanders around, it just goes wherever. And as it goes, it lays down path objects. So the maker object, I've got it in that cyan kind of a color there. And then the path is in yellow that it will make as it goes along. So what we'll do is we'll set up an alarm so that it will destroy itself after a couple seconds, so it won't go on for all eternity. I don't use drag and drop anymore. I just realized I write all this stuff. When the alarm goes off, we will have it destroy itself. And destroy your stuff. Okay, so what we'll do is in the step event, we will write a little bit of code. If you're not a big coder, do not freak out on me. This is going to be easy and I'm going to explain it. Okay, stick with me. So what we're going to do is give it a speed and a direction. The speed is the easy part. The speed equals 32. Why does it equal 32? Because that is the size of the sprite. I want it to actually jump from spot to spot to spot to spot. So instead of moving at a nice slow pace around, it literally is just hopping at a 32 by 32 kind of a movement. You can also tell it to align to grid here if you want to. It's not really necessary in this case because I'm giving a speed of 32. Now you have to give it direction. Where are you heading off to? Easy peasy. We're going to let it choose. Okay? And what's it going to choose? Well, in Game Maker, right is at 0 degrees, up is at 90 degrees, left is at 180 degrees, and down is 270. It's the same thing on any kind of a compass that you look at. So there we go. And this is room 0. Nope, that's room 1. I already did that. Let's play it, and we'll let our little drunken object maker run around the room. Nope, that's the wrong one. I made another one before the demo started. Here we go. That's the one we just coded. And it's going to move too fast for the video to pick it up probably, but it is jittering around like crazy. It's like a panicked flea on caffeine. Let's let it do something else too in the step event. That's great. We've got it wandering around, but in the step event we also want it to instance create at your XY position a path object. Okay, you got me? Now for the path object, obviously with it wandering around like that, these path objects could wind up stacking up on top of each other. So on the path object, I'm going to add some code. It says if place meeting on when you're created XY object path, another path, instance destroy empty. It has to be parentheses empty. What's that mean? Destroy yourself. So if you get created and there's already another path there, just destroy yourself so we don't wind up with a huge stack of paths. Let's let it go. Oh, check that out. Isn't that fun for the whole family? All right. So the other thing that you can do in here if you want to is instead of letting the path object just change direction and jitter around all the time, we could let that happen in an alarm event. Let's see, we can call it, we'll make a variable called my direction. So we'll have to set up that variable in the first place, and we'll call it my direction when you start out equals blah 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 blah, right? 0, 91, 82, 70, and we'll do an alarm 1 equals I don't know, 10 or 30, whatever. You can change that as you go along. So at alarm 1, we'll let it switch directions. So now it'll head off in one direction for a minute, and it will switch directions again. And we tell the alarm to run itself again. Okay, so that's supposed to be my direction. So the variable that we set up called my direction gets selected and then reset and then reset and then reset periodically, and that whole laying down of paths is going to happen in a much more long, straight kind of a fashion. I should add a reset room function in here so we can... Yeah, I was afraid of that. He just took off. Probably that 30 seconds was a bit much. 30 count, that is. So let's turn the alarm 1 to 10. And let me add a reset in here. We'll do it. Yeah, let's do a key release on the letter R, and we'll just have it do a room restart at that. Okay. And if you want to type it, you can type it, or you can do a drag and drop of something. These days, I found it's faster just to type it out, though. I've been coding for a little bit now. Look at that. Look at that. Very long, straight paths. Very long. Oh, I had to destroy itself. Huh. It can't restart the room because it destroyed itself. So we can take the alarm and change that down to, say, 5. I forgot I had to destroy itself. Oh, there we go. So this is going to be a much more straight kind of a maze type thing, as you can see there. All right, cool. So there's a couple of different ways to use a drunkard's walk kind of approach to create pieces. Now, you're probably wondering, how in the world did I do it instantaneously? Okay, because that was pretty crazy. I know, that was awesome. I'm going to drop my command object into the room, and I just remembered I have a reset on the command object. So let's go ahead and wipe all this stuff out. What we're going to do now is called a for loop. If you haven't seen a for loop before, they're really super, super cool. They run instantaneously. So what we do is we start out with a variable. It's usually I. For I equals 0, as long as I is less than whatever you want it to be. In this case, let's say 30, I plus equals 1. Okay. And what you do is add some brackets after that. So this little for loop is going to run, starts out at 0, and as long as it is less than 30, it keeps adding 1. So it counts 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 29, and then stops. So that'll give us 30 steps. And each step of the way, we want it to do something. What do we want it to do? Exactly what it did before. We're going to have to write that a little bit differently. So we'll do x increase by plus equals, and we'll say choose. We don't need that parenthesis. Choose, and it'll be 0, go nowhere, 32, or negative 32. Same thing on y, okay? Y should increase by nothing, 32, or go away by 32. And the other thing we're going to do, you got it, instance create xy object path. So 29 times this create object is going to jitter around and create something, okay? Let's run that. Oh, look at that. Tell me that's not cool. Boom, 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 boom. Now you notice this one can do angles because I let it do x and y at the same time. So sometimes they wind up disconnected. You could correct for that if you want to. This is where it gets into the details of your own particular coding in the way that you want it to do. If you're cool with those angles being in place, that's fine. If you don't want that, you need to add a little escape here. So we'll do direction equal, not direction, make up some other variable. Move to equals, and we'll tell it to choose either 0 or 1. So it's going to choose either up and down or left and right. So once it does that, we have to let it do, you have to use that. If move to equals 0, choose to move on the X. If move to equals 1, we're going to choose to move along the Y. But no matter what it does, it's going to create the path. So this should get rid of those angles, I hope. There we go. These are pretty tiny. How are we going to make that bigger? Well, this is where it's cool with these for loops. Boom. So now as long as I is less than 60, hey, guess what? You can add that into the game as an option. Because we have that variable in there, we could replace I with something else. So instead of saying as long as I is less than 60, we could have the user put input into it. So it would be a user input somewhere along the line. So let's say on create, the user has chosen it, but let's let the game choose it. I don't like the word input here. Why don't we call it maximum? Or size. So, how about that? Size equals what? We'll do a let it choose. I random range. I random range means an integer random range. It means don't do fractions. Don't do it 1.27. I random range between two numbers. GameMaker is trying to help you right down here in case you didn't notice. I random range between what? X and x1, x2, between 60 and 300. It'll pick a integer between that, and then it'll plug that in here to the for loop that we just set up. So we'll get really random sized islands, mazes. Some of them are long, some of them are small, some of them are, look at that one. Pretty cool, huh? Let's add some more fun in here. You want to have some more fun? That's enough of the video for right now. If you got everything you needed, give me a thumbs up and have a great day. Otherwise, we're going to have a little bit more fun here. We're going to give the path a little bit of power of its own. Let's let the path do something. Let's let the path do something. Create more equals choose 0 or 1. We're going to let the paths, when they get created, have an option of creating some more. Okay? 0, 1, or 2. We'll let 2 be just a escape for nothing. Don't do it. Let's see if create more equals 0. We'll do an instance create. We'll make another one, but instead of telling it to create another one, instance create xy object path, let's replace that x. We're going to replace it with some other code. It's going to be the same code we wrote before. We're just going to drop that code inside of where the x is right now. We're going to kind of nest it together. All right? X is now going to be choose -32 or 32. So that means left or right by the same width of the sprite. Whoa, grabbing the wrong things. It's going crazy. Okay, if create more equals 1, we're going to do the same thing there, except it's going to be with y, right? What did I write wrong? Oh. Look at that. It's trying to help me. It even lit up the right line for me to fix. Now remember, the paths, when they're created, if they're on a space where it's not empty, they're going to destroy themselves. So in this kind of a situation, these paths are going to kind of bloom out in all different directions. But if they go too far, they will destroy themselves if they're creating on top of themselves. So it won't go too nutty. But we should see chunkier islands now. That was just weird. Oh, I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy. I'm a dummy. I told it to create it at a literal XY position. It'll be X plus, or in this case, Y plus negative 32 or 32. Sheesh. Sometimes the things that go through my brain. There we go. So you notice the islands are a little bit chunkier now. They don't wander as far. If you wanted to create something more like a maze, obviously you don't want to let your paths bloom out like that. And of course we can have the creator object can destroy itself after it's finished too. So let's do one more quick little finish touch, and I'm going to let you go. Technically, if you weren't enjoying this video, you would have left at any time. Why do people thumbs down videos when they leave anyway? I thought this was about motocross. Thumbs down. There we go. Now it starts to look like an island, doesn't it? Alright, so if you haven't watched the other video on manual view control, that's going to be really great because it will allow you to get a player right down into that island or maze after it's created and let this guy just grow off to however far it wants to. Way off the edge of the room, and you can continue to explore it. Doesn't it just make you want to get down in there and wander around all these spaces? I love creating these random spaces. Just hit the refresh button. I'm going to do this for the next 10 minutes and just let the video roll. Okay, not really 10 minutes. If this helped you, please leave a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments and I will try to answer them. And I hope you have a great day and go make some cool games. Talk to you later. Bye, guys. So fun.